So I'm gonna blow your mind. So they've done studies, and apparently, chat, in these studies they did, they basically were trying to determine causes of depression. One of the things they found, chat, is simply thinking about what makes you depressed makes you more depressed. So the cause of some like depression that people are experiencing could very well be you're just thinking about it too much. So they've done studies that I guess simply taking your mind off of what's making you depressed can make you feel better. Isn't that crazy? Now sometimes, oh, we got a strange Simon. Sometimes, yeah, so thinking things that make you sad makes you sadder. Isn't that interesting? It's not to say that you should ignore and pretend what's bothering you isn't bothering you. It's not necessarily the point. But do an analysis of, are you thinking about something too much? Sometimes is a good idea. So, what I think, chat, I'll tell you like my strategies, right? I have a handful of strategies. One, don't think about it. It's definitely one. And there's certain things, chat. Okay, there's certain philosophies, right? One, is it something you can't do anything about anyway? If the answer is yes, a lot of times I go, you know what? I can't do anything about this. Might as well not worry about it. I'm just stressing myself out, right? Then, sometimes, it is something that I can do something about, but maybe it's not really within my control, right? Or maybe it's not something I should necessarily be worried about. A lot of times, you just gotta be like, you know what? I'm just not gonna worry about it. But sometimes, chat, you just stress yourself out for no reason. Oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say. Here's another thing to do as well. A strategy that I can't remember where I heard this from, but the guy basically said to do this. He said, think of the worst possible outcome, right? What is the worst possible thing that can happen? And then ask yourself, if that thing happens, will I still be okay? And a lot of times, the answer is yes, right? Like, so say you have a final, right? You have a final that's like, it's literally crazy. You feel me? And it's a really difficult final. It's like, oh my gosh, you better get an A on this final or you're gonna fail the class, right? So you think, what is the worst possible thing that can happen? Okay, I get an F on this final, I don't get an A, I fail the class, and then I have to retake it, or my GPA is too low, or something, right? In other words, you walk yourself through all the horrible possibilities. But then when you get to that horrible possibility, you ask yourself, okay, if that horrible possibility comes to pass, my GPA is not high enough to get into the college I want, right? Or I'm gonna fail and have to retake the class, or whatever. Well, are you still gonna be okay? Are you still going to survive? Yeah, it might make things more difficult. It might make things so where you have to do more work. But you're still gonna be okay. You're not gonna die most of the time. So, a lot of times by doing that mental exercise, you'll be able to go, you know what? I'm gonna be okay. Yeah. And then you can move on, right? You don't have to stress anymore. You feel me? Okay, we need to do something about this. You feel me? Yeah, now in this particular situation, yes, this is more of a, you are gonna have to think about this situation, you feel me? You're gonna have to sit there and think through and go, okay, well, if this happens and this happens, da-da-da-da-da. But when you do that thought experiment, chat, when you sit there and think through it, you'll go, okay, I'm gonna be alright. So yeah, in this example, you do need to think through. So this is less about ignoring it. But once you've done that thought experiment and you go, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. I'll survive, even if things are hard. You go down the road. I was saying with a friend of mine, chat, for example, right? And he was really worried because he lives in a country where you have to spend a lot of money on driving tests. I guess you have to pay an instructor to sit in the car with you and learn how to drive that way. Sounds like a scam to me, but what do I know? Some countries, the rules are a little bit more strict. Or some people don't have anyone to teach them. So, there is that. Point is, chat, he's telling me this. He's like, oh man, I feel like I'm going to fail. Right? And I said, and he was super stressed. Right? Very high levels of stress to the point that it was affecting his ability to think clearly. So, I sat down, chat. I talked to him. I said, look, what'll happen if you do fail your driving test? Oh yeah, no, I don't think there should be a requirement where people have to have a tutor teach them. You should be allowed to take the test without a tutor teaching you. Everybody learns differently. Why require someone to pay to have a tutor? Like, that's just kind of crazy. I just think the requirements to pass should be really high. Getting a license should be one of the most difficult things in the world to do. Why do I think that? Because I think we have too many stupid drivers on the road who are killing people. I shouldn't call them stupid. We have too many exceedingly bad drivers on the road who are killing people. Texting on their phone. I ever tell you how I almost got hit by someone texting on their phone? I was riding my bike and this person almost hit me with their car. Oh my gosh. But so the point is, chat, I talked to him and I said, look, what is the worst thing that can happen? You fail your test. What happens if you fail your test? Well, I'm gonna have to pay to get another like session with the teacher. It's gonna cost more money. I'm like, alright. And will you be able to do that? He's like, yeah, but it'll be expensive. I'm like, okay, but you're still gonna make it through. So even if the worst comes to pass, you'll still be okay. I don't know if that helped his stress, but I think it did. He ended up passing anyway, so... But the point is, he spent all of this time worrying and sleepless nights thinking about, oh, I'm gonna fail my test. And that's just going to be it. I'm going to lose all this money that I spent learning. And it's already lost. You paid it. So, see? You spend all that time worrying. A lot of things are like that with people. We spend so much time worrying. And we get stressed. Or like, but what if this happens? What if that happens? And then the worst case scenario doesn't happen. And we're like, oh... fudge, I just wasted all that energy stressing about this. But what do you think, chat? That help anyone? That advice feel relevant to anyone out there? Anyone worrying over something that even if it happens, they'll be okay? Hopefully it's relevant to someone out there. Look, I say this all the time. Advice is like a tool in a tool chest. Sometimes it's relevant, sometimes it's not. You know? To a particular situation. Some advice is also like a coupon. You don't have to cash it if you don't want to.